Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the discussion on building future-proof public services in the Baltics. My name is Julia. I am a business development and relations manager at Baltics, and it is my pleasure to be your host for today's session. This event is part of All Digital Week's initiative, and our team, besides being mostly Lithuanians, are proud supporters of the Digital Week 2024, currently taking place in Latvia, organized by Latvian Information and Communications Technology Association called LICTA. So the world around us is becoming increasingly digital, and governments need to adapt to keep the pace. Here in the Baltics, I would say we are running quite fast. However, this is not a sprint, but rather a marathon. And in today's discussion, we will focus on how the Baltics are building a strong base for the future. So in a minute, we will have a privilege of hearing from a distinguished panel of experts. We have governmental leaders and digitalization experts from all three Baltic states, and they are all passionate about building efficient and citizen-centric public services. By the way, we encourage your active participation too. So throughout the discussion, you can submit your questions for all of our panelists using Slido. So what you have to do now is to go to slido.com and use the code you're seeing on the screen, which is 1613409, or you can simply scan the QR code you are currently seeing on the screen. The code will be available all the time on the bottom line, so you can enter it anytime. And we will do our best to answer as many questions as possible at the end of our conversation. Now, I think it is finally time to meet our panelists. So a warm virtual applause goes to Guna, Puce, Chief Digital Officer of the Ministry of Justice of Latvia, Eimantas Norkūnas, IT Advisor of the Office of the Government of the Republic of Lithuania, Doris Polt, CEO of the Estonian Association of the Information Technology and Telecommunications, Edmunds Bielskis, LICTA's Council Member, Audrius Ramoška, CEO and co-founder of Saveria, and last but not least, Žilvinas Kazlauskas, CEO of Baltics. Hello, everyone. It is a true pleasure to have you all here, and I'm convinced that we will have an interesting conversation today. So without any further ado, let's begin. Our first section will explore the impressive digitalization journey of the Baltic states that we have had so far. So here in the Baltics, we like to have, friendly competition between each other. But this time, let's do not focus on that, but rather discuss how our countries look like in comparison to the rest of the EU or even the world. So my first question is open for everyone, and it goes like that. So how would you describe in brief a level of public sector digitalization across the Baltics? And how would you say it compares to the rest of the EU? And maybe we can start with Žilvinas, as I know that you briefly touched this topic at yesterday's opening event of the Digital Week. So let's start with you, and then we will move over to other participants.
Yes, hello everyone. Thank you for invitation. It's a big pleasure to be here near this kind of all three countries professionals. So I feel like we are have something like a Baltic summit regarding this one question. So I'm very happy. Regarding the question, yes, yesterday I mentioned that digital governance index in which Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia is far ahead in Europe, and I'm very happy that our three small Baltic countries shows for the whole Europe how strong we are in digitization and how we move forward. And this is a brilliant, I don't know, I have no words, maybe other colleagues can expand this place. A little bit information, if I'm talking about digital governance index, I mean that there's like a Organization for Economic and Cooperation Development, OECD, this year published a report that in the criteria that measures openness and including efforts to promote use of technology and data and communication and cooperation with priority stakeholders, Latvia is 9th, Estonia 10th, and Lithuania is 12th. But still, regarding that, it's 35 countries in Europe who is beating to be the first ones. I think it's very good numbers, and we are in a good position.
Yeah, true. I think most of the speakers will agree that they are in a good position, especially taking in mind that we are very small countries here, and maybe that's our advantage. So who would like to jump on this and give some more ideas on how the Baltic governmental sector and public institutions look like in terms with digitalization?
Maybe I could say a few words. Me as a citizen of one of such country, I'm living in Lithuania, so I am very satisfied because I'm using daily services. For example, bank access, but also I'm happy with electronic receipts for medicals. Also, I had experience to register company from home without necessary to go to a physical office. So as a physical citizen, I'm very happy with services we have here in Lithuania.
Yeah, that's a very good approach that you can say it as a citizen that you are happy with, with what you have in our country. Amos, yes, maybe you would like to add something, coming from the other side at this point in life.
I saw the winter. It's like so to begin with, as it's like I have two sides of me. It's like I'm really happy too for the services and like all these ratings, like 9th or 10th or 7th we take. It's like fine if we compare to other countries. But that's not the thing I'm comparing to my country. I'm comparing it to the business model. And we are doing a really bad job, actually. Even like, but it's the government sector is really tough to change. It's like usually, so comparing each country, it might be fine. But even local, but there are even the ratings, how they're made. For example, for digital services. So European Union made a KPI that's how you should like have as many digital services as you can, and they are like giving money for that. So no one counted how many users are using per year these digital services, and we have invested millions to the services where we just like 10 users per year. So and basically all the countries move to the same direction because the European Union that's what you go, and that was even these ratings. It's sometimes you have to know what they consist of. And that's what they're always looking like. Are we can we compete with the business? And it's like a really, I wouldn't say so we can. And I see these opportunities that we are like wasting the spread of this opportunities of digitalization. Each year it's growing, and can we keep the pace, to use them all? And I still think that public sector, it still lags behind that. I'm really happy for the friends from Estonia. They did really amazing job. As I'm going through this path now, and I see that's quite quite a job was done, and that's the only path if you want to compete in the world.
Yeah, so maybe let's continue on that because we have Doris here from Estonia. So Doris, we all agree that Estonia is leading the way in the digital governments across all of 3 countries here. So can you share some insights, why and how Estonia embraced digitalization so early in comparison, to other countries? And what were, some key decisions or strategies that enabled this?
Thank you. Thank you. It's very nice to be here. And I actually also have to agree with Manta's approach, or thinking that this kind of business approach, you have to have it also when you're dealing with government services, that how it's all works out. Because the digitalization, it's not only like making things easier, but also the growing complexity what is together with that. But yeah, when coming back to the, let's say, in sort of beginning, then I think after gaining independence, we all had to choose how to go on or how to governance this country what we have. And we were lucky that on that moment we had this kind of, let's say, forward-thinking leaders in Estonia who had the courage to do also the bold decisions and think differently, or do the decisions differently. And the other part, which wasn't very big luck, but turned out well in the end of the day, that on that moment we didn't have very much finances to invest. And it meant that you couldn't buy any big vendor or any big systems. You had to think out yourself the things. And this is the path where this kind of little bit patriotic private sector and public sector started to work together. And that's how the thing started. And I think there are like this kind of critical things which started from the beginning in this, let's say, in the right way. Firstly, the secure digital identity, which is obligatory to everybody. The second thing is interoperability platform, the X-Road, that the decisions, that we don't have one black box, one single point of failure, that we don't have it. That the system was built like that on the moment. Of course, today we can already speak about also the challenges, what's coming on. And the other part, I think, was also the principle, once only principle, that how we hold our data, and it's you ask from the citizen only once data. And on that moment years ago, I think very huge success factor was also that leaving no one behind. It meant that we had special programs for digital skills, that citizens know how to use this kind of digital services. Programs, what we did on that moment, the Tiger Leap trainings all over Estonia to the different age of people and these kind of things. So it's not only developing technology, but also leaving no one behind, having the users.
Yes, that's a very good point, that it's not enough, to build or buy the system. That's only the beginning of digitalization. And I think we'll touch this point a bit later on. But as you already mentioned, some good examples from Estonia, which were implemented in the public sector. I would like to go to Edmunds maybe and ask him about, some successful cases from Latvia, and, how you see your country in this, in terms of public sector digitalization, and, what are your favorite examples of successfully implemented digital solutions?
Yes, good afternoon. It is a great pleasure to participate in this discussion. Actually, just replying to your first question, and I heard some criticism here about the public e-governance. So the quality, actually, we can compare only with experience from other countries. Ratings are great, and I'm happy that Baltic states are actually competing for the top 10 in all ratings. And if we look back for the DAISY index, even Baltic states competed for the top 5 in the European Union countries. So that shows a trend that we are leaders. Actually, we are leaders in the Baltics, Baltic countries in the European Union. So, and what is important, implementing those digital services, which already covers almost 90% of all governmental services, that not only the citizens of the country can join this digital environment and use services, but also a lot of citizens from the Baltic states moves to the work or living in the different diasporas around the world, and they are able, using all those trusted identity tools as well and e-services, to interconnect with the government, with their state. So that's a very important issue. And this, I will say, healthy competition. Not the first word was cooperation in the Baltic state, and healthy competition drives us all to the new level of maturity in the digital transformation process. And yes, indeed, when I worked for the e-governments for 4 years, we were looking to Lithuania and Estonia. What do you have great? What kind of applications and how we can improve the same good and better solutions. And it led to better services as well. So I can add, and actually we have similar, which was Doris said about the trusted identity on all tools we are using. Actually, it's a question of ecosystem. If we build it, yes, indeed, or Norse colleagues implemented it a little bit faster, and this mandatory decision, which was a great influence by the people and leaders, digital leaders, politicians who made this important and tough decision at that time. And when the country does these political decisions and have the leaders, the progress is much, much faster. And if you look from 10, 15 years ago, public services at that time and now is light years of quality from that time. So we have to be proud. Yes, we can compete with the public sector, but that's why the cooperation between NGOs, academia, and government is very, very important. That's why as a non-government organization for ICT, we also motivate the government and industry and academia to cooperate and ask. The private sector can bring the great solutions. Is it paperless management, or it's identity, or it's, for example, from the success story, I would like just mention the DigiNotary, which was implemented in Latvia. It's a great possibility. You can sign any legal binding documents, or tax administration, digitalization, which is the same success stories in our countries. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. So we covered some drivers like very strong leaders in the government at the right time, yes, as well as some healthy competition between the countries, and in more real sense, it's collaboration, between governments and sharing the expertise. And actually, Guna of the mic mentioned to me one interesting point that the historical crisis also have some important role in driving digitalization. So could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yes, I just wanted also to stress what already Doris said, that limitation of resources and the crisis also is a good catalyst for the bigger changes, because I have seen from my practical experience that during the financial crisis in 2008, I was working for a company registry in Latvia. We were the first to start to use digital e-signature. And this was not because of we wanted to modernize our services, but it was because of lack of resources, and we needed to think how to work smarter. And also during the COVID, there was this huge trend on remote work, and also this affected the government services. So there was a very big movement away from the face-to-face services. Some institutions even closed the face-to-face services permanently. So the crisis also is a great catalyst for change, and we during the crisis we think how to work differently, and we don't have other options. That's why we develop very innovative solutions.
Yes, that's true. What seemed impossible before becomes very much possible once you do not have any other choice, I would say. So yeah, we covered some, positive aspects and some success cases, but digitalization process is not always fun and games. It's complicated, it's long, it involves a lot of stakeholders. So let's now discuss some of the challenges that our countries have faced or is facing still along the way. And I wold like to start with Eimantas, as you brought your experience from the private sector to the public sector, and now you are working, to transform all the IT sector of the government of Lithuania, all the infrastructure. And I saw that in one of your past interviews, you mentioned that one of the challenges in public sector is that government often buys, expensive systems that nobody needs or nobody knows how to operate. And another point is that IT professionals in the public sector are often underpaid in comparison to private sector, which leads, to hiring consultants, and they might not always deliver the best results as outsiders. So can you elaborate on this issue and share, your personal experience and steps that your team is taking to address these challenges?
Yes, I guess that's the same issue all the public sectors are facing. The lack of the specialists and maybe the salaries, how to get the best people, and like even countries like operate like Lithuania, like we're investing maybe 200 million euros per year in our IT sector, but it doesn't say anything actually. How we are investing, what we're getting, where we're spending them exactly. So what I saw is like from these amounts of money, only a small fraction goes to people. Everything else goes like to the vendors. And that's not okay for both sides. Even for vendors, that's not okay. Even it sounds like, okay, we have the biggest part, because there is no strong project managers from the public sector, and the project scope, they cannot control the project scope, and they cannot take responsibility, and so the projects are growing, and at the end you are getting like huge system that does not solve the problem you wanted, maybe even through creating another problems, and the vendors are ending up on the zero, or even sometimes even in the minus. So that was not the case to go. And what we immediately started to change is like, first, the people should go to the money should go to the people. So we started to build around, there's a project, there's a problem. We start to gather, but depending on the problem size, we start gathering the team from the private sector. We starting like investing into the team, and only then we're just starting to looking into for a vendor. So what we're saying, like all the heads should be on the public sector, and the hands on the private, and that's the best cooperation. And the private sector can win, and the public can win. So that was. And just to end up with the Doris and the Guna about the lack of the resources, that's the main key for digitalization, is not the amount, it's amount of the money. Less you have, the better you will deliver. That's the key. And everyone thinks like the more we will invest, the better it will be. No, that's the amount of money shows the lack of the competence the country has. That's the only thing it shows. And the more money creating more problems. And even though I was once invited, before the sending budget to the parliament, like to change some numbers for my colleagues, my project managers, and I did that. I reduced the money. They asked the final steps just because to make up priorities. That's how it works. So that's it, I guess.
Yeah, that's a very nice approach, and I think it works, both in the public sector and in business as well. You have to invest into people first, and then the results will follow. So I would like to jump to Edmunds, because you have experience in quite a few Latvian public institutions. So what are some of the recurring challenges that you saw in all those institutions? Was it the same everywhere, or you saw some differences across the institutions?
Yeah, a good question. Actually, I love the sentence that people are making the game. So my experience from different organizations shows that if the institutions or organizations is led by motivated and future vision approved person, then everything is going well. So, but from the challenges I can mention, now it's disappearing, the decentralization and let's say some fear of changes, which was in the public sector. And it was a challenge we should manage during the years and training, motivation, how to bring together all ministries, agencies to work for the one particular goal, effective management. And at that time, people were afraid that they will lose a job. And we see there's some rumors about artificial intelligence, how many tens of percents will lose their jobs and will have to requalify it. But for the government, and I agree with the previously said that the investment for infrastructure and soft can be challenged and decreased to get more effective solutions. But when we speak about the personnel and employees, the level of wages is not compatible with the private sector as well. So at that time, at that moment, we need to requalify persons, and now the latest initiative by the state chancellery is establishing a so-called digital academy for the public sectors, and there will be the European financing providing enormous and huge wide training for the especially public service representatives, especially for those who are involved in public service design and delivery process. That they know technological side, they can re-engineer all public services to make them much convenient for the citizens, and that vendors for IT companies are able to them implement in digital environment as well. So, and financing is a good question, but it's never too much, never ever, especially for ICT sector. And we as a private company, NGOs, are happy that the government invests more for better solutions.
Yeah, that's lovely to hear, about all those initiatives taking place. And I catch the point that the fear of change is a huge stopper in digitalization process. So, let's continue in this topic. I would like to ask Guna, as you are leading the digital transformation within the Latvian Ministry of Justice, what are, some of the biggest internal challenges that you are facing right now in your job? Is it easy to get the employees on board, or is it a tough job?
This is to get the people is one of the hardest things. So we are thinking a lot of we think about centralization of teams, cross-functional teams. We understand that, for example, in Latvian justice sector, we have 14 organizations, and we understand that we can't have complete teams, 14 teams, because we have some bigger projects in some institutions, but that doesn't mean that we don't have projects in other institutions. And we are moving more and more to the centralized teams who can solve the problems. And this is also one of the cultural things that sometimes we have this feeling that, oh, now this, I don't know, blockchain is or AI is coming, we need to implement it. But then we forgot that we need to solve some specific problem. So we always have to remember what problem we are solving. This is one of the cultural things. And if we understand what we are solving and we have skills and knowledge, and we understand how can technology help us to do it, then it's easier to transform these processes inside the organization. And this is one of the keys that if our employees understand how these new processes are working, then they can be like ambassadors for the change in front of our customers. So this is the chain we have to remember. We can't just change something and ask from our customers to change their habits, but do not work internally in the government. So the skills and the knowledge and technology, but also all the time remembering what problems we are solving and what we actually want to achieve. And one more thing is that we see that in most of the cases, we are solving complex problems, not within the one organization. We have to look from the perspective of the customer, of the life situations, and usually they are going out of the one organization, and sometimes they are going outside one country. So we have to think very broadly on this.
Yes, I think everyone would agree on that most of the problems are interconnected between organizations, and sometimes different organizations are trying to solve the same problem at the same time, and spends twice amount of money just because they do not know that what others are doing. And the centralization in this case probably is going to be one of the solutions. So Doris, while Estonia is often seen as a shining example of digitalization, were there any significant challenges or something similar to what others shared in your country? Or was it always easy, and bright and all flowers?
No. All the flowers and shiny stuff is on the top. I think, yeah, I think Elementas throw out some very intriguing statements, let's say. Of course, we will always find, let's say, countries and companies who would say that who don't agree with that. But yeah, there are some truth with that. One thing what could happen when you're always with the lack of resources and this kind of challenge, what we have seen that in one moment public sector starts to drift apart from this public private partnership collaboration and starting to think that it's cheaper and easier to hire more IT specialists to work in the public sector and to do everything themselves. And the challenge what coming with that the system start to be more and more into this in silos, that every ministry, every area working only inside their silos. And what we saw in Estonia one moment and was challenging for us is that, but citizen doesn't care in which silo it is. They want to get similar qualitative service from everywhere. They doesn't care what are the different institutions with what you have to communicate. They want to get the service. And they would like to get it like from one place, all the things done. So for us, the challenge was how to move from these silos to horizontal approach and to this kind of event-based proactive services. For example, when somebody loses job, he or she doesn't want to go through different institutions, ministries, the taxation authorities, and so on, in order to get their financial support, get the final bills, or get then trainings needed, or so on. They just want to have one approach. And to have these event-based services actually was in the beginning very challenging, because different ministries, different institutions, services had to harmonize their digital services. And that is the challenge with what we're working still. And where this kind of collaboration between institution and between different private sector providers is essential.
Yeah. So that's a very nice idea that basically when building something in public sector, you have to put yourself in the shoes of the actual user, the citizen first, and then think about the possible solutions, right? So yeah, we covered some challenges that we are overcoming, let's say, but I would like to dare you to share some of your country's failures or fail stories. Were there any public sector, initiatives that went bad? For example, the government spent a lot of money and it didn't work, and it was a proof of changing the system or something like that. Does somebody has an example of that and is not afraid to share it?
I have many, but let's start with one good example, except approach. How it depends on the approach. It's like 10 years ago, our Lithuania decided to build a control system for institutions that take care of the control of something. I know, food, land, and so on. We have about 40 institutions, maybe less. So they decided to do like this. Let's gather all the requirements from all the institutions and let's build one big control system. They invested maybe 3-4 million euros. They started to gather it and then saw that it's at some point that it's impossible. It's like a fantasy is put in one place, and they stopped that project. I just realized about this project a little bit later, because what we did, we just started from an idea like, let's do it in one institution, let's make quite good control system. We put the best people there, and we just did I know it costed maybe 300,000 euros. When you know what you're doing, usually it costs it's usually you can make any system for 250,000. So we did it, and now we are selling it to other institutions for free. We're giving not only the system, we're giving all the knowledge, all the know-how, because usually the same institutions working in each own silos or the part, and they have the same processes but different. The same goal but with the different processes. So what we're offering, we can change even the process and make it a little bit better, because we know that institution could do that and they did it, and now it's quite fast. So we're bringing know-how. We did not change any law. We did because the marketing strategy for the government is let's make a law and everyone will use the system. That's not how it is. You should compete. You should make the application and then give it to others, and even for free, but if they might, even if it's bad, they won't use it. So that's an example of how do the same project but with a different approach, and that's an example we have now.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Would someone else like to share something from their countries?
I think maybe from business point of view, this is the challenge which is still going on, let's say, in Estonia. Right now, when you think also in your other countries that how many different kind of reports your companies have to give to government, or different kind of reporting they have to do. In Estonia, it's over 400 reports. But companies, it depends from your working area, where you are with your company, but over 400 reports what companies have to give us, different statistics to government officials. And we are already a couple years work with that how to harmonize it, how to also use the once only principle there. Is it possible to do that the company puts the information once up and every institution takes it? And as long as they can't agree in which kind of language, programming language, everybody want to get the data and so on, as long as government officials are not ready to change how they are used to do things, and then nothing happens. And this have been a long way, and I don't see the end yet.
Yeah.
I just it's a good point, and how we approaching this, the same issue. It's as I'd say, our ambition is to have small ambition, and not to make one, but maybe let's make 40 out of this 400. That's and that's actually a huge change. It's 10x change. So that's a good point. Actually, that's each country has the same.
Yeah, when we have already I don't know 25% to 50% of decrease of reporting, then already would be, I would say that it's success.
Yeah, that's true. And I think, the most important part is to understand that something is not working and then try to, increase it even a little bit, and it still will be a win. So Guna or Edmunds, do you have any stories from Latvia?
Yes, of course, it's not like everything is going perfectly in Latvia. Yes, no, we also have failures. And if we think why they happen, what I have seen is that in those big projects where we have a lot of institutions involved, I think the biggest problem is that we don't have these project management skills in those projects. We have I think this was the reason. From the government side, there wasn't very strong project leaders or project management skills to bring everything together and lead to the result. So I very like this quote from the Imantas, heads in the public sector and hands in the private sector. And this is, if it's not working like that, then we have a failures. Yes.
Yeah, that's a very nice idea. And until now, we've been. Yes.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
Yes, just a few points. It's not a problem, but it's I would like to mention some challenge when we speak about digital transformation. The infrastructure deployment is very important, and when we build a gigabit society, no one can stay behind, especially in rural areas. And I think the challenge for many countries is how to reach with a high-speed internet all citizens in any village and single house in the rural area. So, and at the same time, we have state aid programs. It's great, but the telecommunication business is an open, competitive environment, and that's why to get in some state aids financing with the private sector, there is a hard discussion. Do we need invest and intervene with the state money in some private sector, telecommunication sector? And this is challenge, where this communication and cooperation between involved parties is very, very essential. And the second point was mentioned how to improve and facilitate the quality of developed public services and provision of them. I had an honor work for the Latvian Television Center, which is governmentally owned company. And at the same organization, we had services we provided for the government and other services to the private sector as well. So it's a great possibility to feel the strong competition in the private sector environment, and then you can provide costly based and high quality services for the government. That's why to have this cooperation where your governmental partner providing services understand not only the governmental side, but understand and operating the private sector as well.
Yes, that's great. I think, and that's quite a key aspect for successful implementation of the solutions. And speaking on that, we can jump a little bit and talk about the future, because we've been quite successful until now, at least according to the reports, but there are a lot of changes coming up. And I would like to go to Audrius now, because you are quite an expert of the the new European digital identity framework, which is coming up. And, for the audience, it aims to create, a standardized system for digital identity and authentication across the EU. And this is quite a big deal, I would say. So, Audrius, a question for you. Do you feel like the Baltic countries are prepared for that? And if not, what are the missing steps right now?
To be honest, I do not have clear answer. Of course, we are under high risk, I would say, because I know that some countries already far behind Baltics in preparation, and they are spending a lot of money for government institutions to collect necessary knowledge. Also, they are learning, testing, and etc. And comparing to what I know about Lithuania or a little bit about Latvia, here it is some risks that we are behind. But of course, it's from a technology point of view, from a process implementation point of view, it's a huge task. And definitely it is countries where we are ahead because, for example, in Lithuania, we have some companies and even government institutions who are participating already in large-scale projects, who are testing AIDA's new version of digital identity and etc. I know in Latvia as well. I do not have information about Estonia, but what I would like to say is that this is, I would say, not a technology risk. Mainly, it's a knowledge risk. And what Eimantas or Doris or Guna, with Edmunds said, people, and one more time people. So definitely, it will not be possible to get people just to say that, yeah, we are forming team and you will get knowledgeable people. Yes, project manager we could get, business analyst we could get, but we will need time to get knowledge related to these new technologies because, for example, some standards or some specifications were approved only in 2022. Some standards are still not approved, but already in use and in preparation related to this new AIDA. So a lot of challenges. So we need to be more proactive, I would say.
Yeah, that's a good approach, and we are still once again coming back to people and the importance of the knowledge in the organizations. And I would like to switch to Žilvinas for that, because the Logis has been involved in digitalization of the public sector for quite some time. And from our own experience, with document management systems, which is just a small part, of all the activities, we know, and maybe not us, but our colleagues have witnessed that some public organizations have started the digitalization process like 20 years ago, while others are still quite hesitant even today, So, Žilvinas, what in your opinion could be the best ways of improving, and involving employees and citizens into adoption of digitalization?
One word: communication, the simple one. Or if we're talking about the easiest understandable, it's sharing the knowledge. Because you very good mentioned that some companies, organizations, public services, they have started to digitize and the document and process management in general 20 years ago, 19 years ago. But as a user in Lithuania, I have some facts or rumors that it comes true that all the process goes like a digital. You fill the form in the application, you sign it through the mobile ID, Parax or smart ID or etc. And you download to the computer, print it, and send via regular mail. So why, if you have a document management system, you have just send an email and maybe the call for the send user and say, hello, you have like your documents prepared and that's all. And we save the time. But the employees doesn't know. They are afraid. They're afraid of communication. And that one's the first very good mention, that they're afraid of their workplaces, They're afraid that, okay, there's come like some solution and I don't need it anymore in this workplace. No, it's not about that. It's about the communication and sharing the best practices. Because our customers in Lithuania, we have small group of like universities who are sharing the best practices of document management from our solutions. And, this is like a community, and they can share with others how to use, what you do with your free time when you don't need to fill all the paper documents, and etc. So in my personal view, not as a company, part of the company, it's a communication and knowledge sharing. If I'm talking from the business, then more community and cooperation regarding maybe the Baltic states. We can share from Lithuania what we can create or we have created, or maybe Latvians can share, or maybe Estonians, and we can make like a big free countries community and share best practices.
Yeah, that's a very nice idea. So maybe let's build on that. And Doris, Estonia is quite often mentioned as a country with a very fast and easy innovation adoption. So what would be your ideas or examples on this? How to get employees and the actual citizens involved in digitalization initiatives? Because you can create a system, but if it's hard to use, nobody will use it, and they will still call to the office or go to the office and try to get the same services which can be done in a few minutes via internet.
Mm-hmm. And firstly, I have to agree with Sivinas that communicate first thing, because you have to build the trust between government and citizens. Then transparency is very important there. And that through the digitalization, you can show to the citizen the transparency, how government works. This is one thing. For example, in Estonia, I'm already having this kind of people are acting in this way, that when you're asking them to sign a contract on paper, then they're starting to look you in this suspicious way that, hey, what is wrong with this contract that you want to do it on paper? They are so used to that it has to be digital. And so that digital service, it means trust. You have this mindset, and that that you always can track, you can follow, you can see your data, that who is owning your data, the principle that the citizen owning your data, not the government owns your data. And I think the other part there is motivation kick. Avoid the uses of digital alternatives, digital services. When we started in Estonia, for example, we did it in this way, that if you do your tax declaration digitally, you're getting the money back faster than if you do it on paper. Very easy thing. You're awarding it that you do things digitally. If you register your vehicle through e-portal and through digital means, then again, it's cheaper for you. Your what you have to pay for the government, then it's cheaper, and you're getting it the service done faster. You can have this kind of small motivation kicks that through digital means things are cheaper, because they are usually, and they are faster, and you're getting your answers faster from the government and so on. And speaking about this kind of future, let's say, I very much hope that in the future, here the Baltic states can be this kind of as an example or little hub, that in the future we can use the services cross-borderly, similar way in every country. Why not start with the Baltics and then go over more widely with that? For example, I don't know, when I need my medical prescription in Lithuania, that I could go with my identity card and buy it in Apotheka, that I don't need a prescription on the paper. To have the similar services through the Baltic states, I think that could also be the future, to have this kind of convenience.
True, and that's what you are talking corresponds very well with the questions that I see on Slido, because people are asking about the digital signature, which would be the same format in 3 Baltic state countries, because now we all have our own formats for some reason. I'm not sure why. But another thing that you mentioned, those motivation kicks, it sounds very nice and very logical, and it would definitely work for me. But one of the questions from the audience is, how can we make sure that older people are included in digitalization process without overwhelming them, because it might be quite difficult for the older generation to adapt. So it's an open question for all of you. Do you have any ideas or good practices, on how to get older people involved?
May I? Because it's a very good question. Because first of all, if we are looking into near future about this upcoming digital European Union digital ID, digital identity and digital identity wallet, So it provides more possibilities even for people who are not familiar with IT, for older people to simplify and even to make a more secure way. I could give you an example. Bhutan Kingdom last year in October started to issue digital identity into digital identity wallets. But they made a decision to issue in a different formats. And even for people who doesn't have a mobile phone at all, they have digital identity wallet. So it's technology, new technologies allows to do a lot of stuff. So yeah, I think it will simplify. Of course, it will not be, let's say, made in not proper way. Of course, because a lot of possibilities during a lot of discussions that standards could be destroyed or implemented in a not proper way. But I hope European Union will make good decisions, good final decisions on the standards, on the approach, how to use these standards. But I think it's even better coming approach.
Great.
In Estonia, we have from this medical system a very good example for elderly people. As we have the digital prescription, and when the elderly people understood that they don't have to anymore go to the doctor in order to get the paper prescription, and then so what happened was that, of course, in the beginning of the month, family doctors got more calls, and you just could prolong your prescriptions through online, and they were very happy with their ID card, and that they just could buy. The process for the elderly people that they can just go to the apotheca, they don't need to go before that to the doctor. The process went faster. They were quite happy with that, and so it was. We didn't see no hustle there, let's say, and bringing along. Of course, but still, yes, of course, when you want to have some kind of services or so on, then this kind of, there are special helps needed. Or internet centers we have in libraries, for example, this kind of points where they can go and ask for the help. It is challenging, definitely.
Yeah, I know that some other countries doing as well, such help centers for people. And yes, it's very good approach. I think we need to think about the same in Lithuania as well.
Yeah, digital divide is a huge thing, and this is one of the big challenges governments have to solve, because we can't leave anyone behind. In Latvia also we have this initiative like the centralizedly organized customer centers in the municipalities, so you can get government services in one place, and also it's like also help to use e-services, but it very depends on the service you want to get. And also one good practice is that the customer service of the institution helps like a bridge to connect people with digital services. And what I have experienced in practice that you have to educate customer service people how to use these technologies, because then they can help customers. And I had in my practical experience, I had that when I worked for the company registry, we didn't understand why the customers don't use e-signature and submit applications in electronic form. And we asked our customer service, please explain how to use it and motivate customers to use it. And at one point we understood that our customer service employees, they haven't used the e-signature themselves. How they can educate the customer if they don't understand what is this technology. And so we started to teach customer service employees. We bought them all e-signature, and so they can use it in their life, and then they can help customers to use the e-services and those e-signature and other tools that government provides. Thank you.
Yeah, this is very interesting, and I feel like we could go on for hours on this topic. However, our time is running out. So as you all have, different experiences and different backgrounds, I would like to close our conversation with asking you all to share one short piece of advice, for all the public institutions and representatives of those organizations now watching us, how to make their services future-proof. One piece of advice for public service companies.
I can start. It's the only way to survive for the countries is to create a stream between the public and private sector. When I came to public sector, I added some to Facebook, and I saw that we have zero common mutual friends, nothing. That's the border between private and public sector I found. And the only thing is to create a stream from private to public and from public to private. That's you do that, you're a happy country in the long run.
Thank you.
Yes, I can continue. Just what is important for public sector is to keep the focus as the main purpose of the public sector. So to serve citizens and businesses with high quality public services and actually stimulate economic growth and well-being, and focusing on the KPIs and results, not only focusing on the endless process. Yeah. And if the public servants understand that and working in this direction, then results will be very soon. Thank you.
Thanks. Who would like to jump in next?
So from my side, it could be, I will repeat what was told here. So collaboration and communication. Simple.
Yeah, simple on paper.
Continuing that, share the knowledge and create the future. That's all.
I would say that put the citizen into center, to have this human-centric approach, and not to think in silos, but think horizontally.
Yes, and to add to this user centricity, but also all the time remember what problem you are solving, not to be lost in technology.
Yes, thank you. All of these were great suggestions for the future. And I want to thank you, all of you, for joining this discussion. It was very interesting for me. I'm sure you enjoyed it as well. So we heard some inspiring stories from the Baltics. We gained some deeper understanding, about the way that it went to this point. We also discussed some challenges, such as integrating new technologies, overcoming internal resistance, and so on and so forth. And I think those are the valuable lessons that we all have learned and will learn in the future, and I think other countries can learn from us. And looking ahead, I hope that our discussion left the audience inspired and equipped with some valuable knowledge to tackle the challenges they are facing, and the opportunities that are lying ahead. So one last time, thank you all incredible panelists for sharing their expertise, and thank you to the audience who witnessed this online right now in real time, or maybe is watching this in the future. So let's continue striving to build future-proof public services for the benefit of all citizens. It has been a pleasure being your host today. I wish you a wonderful rest of the day. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.